Okay, welcome to. I want to welcome all to the last debate that we did for the preliminary stage of the 2025 second debate competition in Jigawa and Kaduna. And the motion for today's is that this House will introduce and compulsory tertiary education. This next topic touching on economic policy, social equity, national development. And my job is to make sure that everyone constructs.
I'm not here.
Can you?
No, we can't.
You can't. Can you hear me now? Okay, you can hear me? Okay, so I'll quickly tell you the rules. Every speaker has 6 minutes to make their arguments. And then when it's the third minute, you can give POIs. And I will let you know when it's time for POIs by raising my POI note. When you see this, you know that it's time for POIs. And then there's protected time, which means you have 1 minute left. I'll do like this to let you know that you have 1 minute left and you have to round up your arguments. And I clap when your time is up. So you have to make sure that you don't exceed your time, because when you do, your points will be deducted. And then there's reply speech, which comes after everyone has spoken. Reply speech goes for 2 minutes. And in that stage, you're not to add more arguments. You're just to summarize what everybody has said. So now we are going to start with the first proposing speaker. First proposing speaker, are you ready?
Call the motions out first.
Okay, this House would introduce free and compulsory tertiary education in Nigeria.
Who is opposing and who is proposing? Who is proposing and who is opposing?
Kaduna, are you proposing or opposing?
We are opposing.
Okay, so Jigawa is supposed to start. Jigawa, first proposing speaker from Jigawa. Your time starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Jigawa, first proposing speaker.
Jigawa, wait, can I hear you? Unmute your mic, Jigawa. Unmute your mic, Jigawa.
Are you hearing us?
Yes, go ahead.
And your time starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Begin.
The chairman of the occasion, the incorruptible panel of adjudicators, humble moderators, my co-debaters, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good day to you all. My title remains as Usman Ismail, representing Jigawa State, to support the motion that this House will introduce free and compulsory tertiary education. As we all know, free and compulsory education is not a privilege, it's our right as declared by the United Nations. But before I go further, as a leading speaker, it is imperative for me to give a vivid introduction and unambiguous definition of the key terms, which are free education, compulsory education, and tertiary education. Free education, as it has been defined by Wikipedia, means the cost of the education is covered by government or other financial or other is covered by government, which remove tuition fees from the student. Ladies and gentlemen, compulsory education, on the other hand, is the type of education which requires attendance by laws, which is usually imposed at primary level and sometimes at secondary levels. Tertiary education is a level of education following secondary education, including universities, colleges, and vocational schools, leading to certificates, diplomas, or academic degrees. Ladies and gentlemen, to let the cat out of the bag, these are the main supporting points of my argument. Ladies and gentlemen, first and foremost, making tertiary education free and compulsory increase national productivity. When more students are trained as teachers, doctors, engineers, and scientists, the entire workforce will be more skilled and more efficient. The United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, reports that countries with high rates of literacy and high rate of tertiary education record faster economic growth than those without. Simply put, an educated workforce builds a productive nation. It also strengthens local research and innovation. Ladies and gentlemen, by making tertiary education free and compulsory, citizens can focus on solving the problems of the society. As in the case of COVID-19 pandemic, it was Nigerian and South African students who were part of the teams producing low-cost ventilators and local sanitizers. This is what education does. It empowers creativity. Ladies and gentlemen, it also promotes gender equality. In many developing countries, girls are denied their education because of introduce free and compulsory tertiary education. It means both boys and girls can pursue their dreams equally. Educated women become decision makers and help to lift the entire community. Ladies and gentlemen, it also reduces crime rate and insecurity. A, a busy, educated youth is far less likely to be idle or engage in crime. The nations which adopt this system have low crime rate and more civic responsibilities. Ladies and gentlemen, it also helps us to build a knowledge-based economy. In the modern world, knowledge is more valuable than oil or minerals. Countries like Finland and South Korea have transformed from rich to poor through investment in education. Ladies and gentlemen, it also promotes national unity and integration. University education brings different peoples from different ethnicities and beliefs. This will help them to interact together, come together, study together, and this shared experience helps to promote national cohesion. Ladies and gentlemen, making tertiary education free and compulsory is also constitutionally valid, as Section 18 of the 1999 Constitution directs the federal government to ensure equal opportunity at all levels of education eradicate illiteracy by making free and compulsory education across all levels, ranging from primary level, secondary, as well as tertiary level. Ladies and gentlemen, why will you not ask that? Why many graduates in Nigeria, their hope is to travel abroad and study. Also, many of us may argue that when we make tertiary education free and compulsory, Nigeria will lose a lot of money. But let us remember that when we lose a lot of money, we will build educated people. And educated people create job for themselves and create jobs for themselves, pay tax to the government and not depending on the government aid. In the long run, the money invested in making tertiary education free and compulsory is returned in multiples through national productivity. Ladies and gentlemen, I stand firm and unshaken in my belief that this house will introduce free and compulsory tertiary education in Nigeria. Because producing free and compulsory tertiary education in Nigeria is not a dream, it's a duty to the youth, a duty to the nation, and a duty to the generation to come. Ladies and gentlemen, as Nelson Mandela once said, education is the best weapon which you can use to change the world. Let us wield that weapon wisely by making tertiary education free and compulsory. Thank you.
Okay, very well. You used 5 minutes, 6 seconds. Please, when you want to ask POIs, you just raise your hand. You don't have to shout POIs so we can listen to what he's saying. Just raise your
We are
hand.
not hearing.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Just raise your hand to signify you want to ask a
We are
POI.
not hearing.
You can't hear me? Jigawa? Can you hear me? Now we want first speaker from opposition. Your time starts in 5.
Can I go back?
4. Yes, you can. 5, 4.
They have started counting for the others. They have started counting for the others.
Rights should be sustained, not strained. So should education. Distinguished panel, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Amatua Obeisans from the team opposition, and I'll be opposing the motion which says that this house will introduce free and compulsory tertiary education in Nigeria. Our stance for today's debate is due to the fact that free and compulsory tertiary education in Nigeria is unrealistic, unsustainable, and will deteriorate the already struggling quality of education in Nigeria. We strongly oppose the motion. Our burden of proof is to prove beyond reasonable doubt how and why free and compulsory tertiary education will be burdensome and wasteful. We, the team opposition, introduces an alternative model, not to make tertiary education free and compulsory, but to make it optional and subsidize the fees to align with the minimum wage of the country. How will our model be realistic in Nigeria today? We will make it optional, not to infringe on the right of choice of the citizens. And also, we will subsidize the fees to align with the minimum wage. Because what the lowest earner in Nigeria can afford, anybody can afford. As the first speaker of the team opposition, I'll be defining the key terms in this debate, which are free and compulsory and tertiary education. I'll also be speaking on two major points of argument, which are economic reality and misplaced priority. My second speaker will be here to reaffirm our stance and also speak on two major points of argument, which are quality versus quantity, corruption, and mismanagement. Our third speaker will be here to do rebuttals, reaffirm our points, and tell you why our side of this debate deserves to win today. But before going into the of our key terms, there are rebuttals that need to be cleared. The team, first off, from the team proposition, mentioned a point on education as a right in the constitution. But what was mentioned in the constitution was right to quality education and not right to compulsory education. So this means that Nigeria can not still handle the when we make Nigeria education compulsory in Nigeria, it will further deteriorate the already struggling quality of education, which doesn't make any point to stand. What is free and compulsory? Free and compulsory refers to education that is mandatory to all eligible citizens, offered at no financial cost due to government funding, while tertiary education refers to post-secondary school education offered by universities, polytechnics, colleges of education, and other educational institutions after secondary school. That's my first point of argument, which is economic reality. The current Nigerian economy cannot handle the reality of funding free and compulsory tertiary education. According to a research done by the International Center for Investigative Reporting, in 2025, Nigeria allocated 3.52 trillion to the educational sector. Which is around 7.3%. This has been the highest fund ever allocated to the educational system, yet still below UNESCO's intended percent of 15 to 20% of the annual budget. Now, also, Nigeria is still struggling to fund basic education and as leading in strides due to underfunding, underpaid lecturers, and dilapidated facilities. Where should we get this money from? All the funds. Should we borrow more, tax our citizens deeper, or print more? Making tertiary education in Nigeria free and compulsory only worsen the existing crisis. That's my second point of argument, which is misplaced priority. Nigeria's problem is not free and compulsory tertiary education, but the struggling foundations of primary and secondary school. According to a research done by UNICEF in 2024, in Nigeria, there are over 10.1 million out-of-school children ranging between the ages for primary school. Why make tertiary education free and compulsory when we haven't focused on our foundation yet? Because the basic knowledge a person needs to strive in the global market is primary and secondary school knowledge. We should focus more on our overcrowded classrooms, our outdated teaching methods, before dreaming of making tertiary education free and compulsory. In summary, I've been able to do justice to our stance, body of proof, and model, and also do our case division and speak on two major points of argument, which are economic reality and misplaced priority. In conclusion, making free and compulsory tertiary education in Nigeria will be like a man handing umbrellas in a storm with his roof torn. Making tertiary education free and compulsory in Nigeria will only worsen the existing crisis. Are we willing to put our economy or the total collapse of our economy on the line for an unsustainable idea that is free and compulsory tertiary education? In conclusion, I firmly and humbly rest my case. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You used a total of 5 minutes, 21 seconds. Now We have our next speaker from proposition. Next speaker from proposition. Your time starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Proposition, Team Jigawa. Team Jigawa. They haven't started, I know. Team Jigawa.
Are you hearing me?
Okay, yes, please start in 5, 4, 3, 1.
The chairman of the occasion, incorruptible panel of adjudicators, humble moderator, able and accurate timekeeper, my co-debaters, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good day to you all. The personality standing before you is no one but the great gallant Salim Umar Farouk, representing Jigawa State. He is standing here to passionately support the motion, which said that this house introduced pre and compulsory tertiary education in Nigeria, which I concretely agree with the motion. Ladies and gentlemen, in affiliation with clarification, synchronization, and explanation made by my leading speaker, I, as the first supporting speaker, here goes my justification. When a nation makes tertiary education pre and compulsory, it is not given a gift. It is investing its own future. Pre-university education builds human capital, the most powerful resource a country can have. Countries such as Norway, Finland, and Germany understand this truth, and they are global leaders today. Pre-tertiary education also promotes equality and fairness. It ensures that a child of a poor farmer and a child of a wealthy businessman sit in the same class with equal opportunities to succeed. Wealth shouldn't determine who to become a doctor, a teacher, or a farmer, but ability should. Beyond fairness, it removes burdens in student debt. In many countries, graduates leave school already owing years of loan. Pre-tertiary education liberates youth to create, invent, and innovate instead of struggling to pay them. And what do we gain as a nation? We gain researchers and innovators. Pre-tertiary education fuels invention in science, technology, and medicine. It also empowers young minds to create industries and provide local solutions to local problems. After all, the best idea is not limited to those who can afford tuition. Moreover, free tertiary education also reduces crime and youth restlessness. When people are productively engaged in learning, they are far less likely to be drawn into terrorism, drugs, and crime. Terrorism, drugs, and crime. Moreover, it also promotes gender equality. Our brilliant women are forced to abandon their dreams because their parents cannot pay. With pre-tertiary education, it will make them to have equal access to success. Furthermore, the nation's greatest wealth now is knowledge. Look at South Korea, Japan, China, countries with few natural resources but built with strong economy on educated citizens. Their secret massive investment on education, especially to the highest level. Ladies and gentlemen, it also promotes innovation and competitiveness. Pre-university education means graduate entering the field of engineering and research. It also promotes technological growth and put a nation into global map of innovation. It also, moreover, it also promotes progressive generation. An educated parent is more likely to educate. So for pre-education to be more active, so parents have to be active in providing education to the children. Ladies and gentlemen, don't let us forget that educated citizens are the ones who make good voters and leaders. They know their right, listen to their leaders and question bad governance and intelligently contribute to the national development. Ladies and gentlemen, to make compulsory and pre and compulsory tertiary education, we need to stood up and make a better nation for progressive nation of our nation. So, ladies and gentlemen, pre-tertiary education is not luxury, it is a necessity. We are saying to our child, your dream matters, your talent counts, and your background will never hold you back. So with this respect, I hope that I fully convince you that government should introduce pre-tertiary education, pre and compulsory, for the progress of all, for the prosperity of our nation, and for generation of better tomorrow. And my co-debate is to you: will you defend on those who bring progress for you or knowledge, or you want to solve your problem? This is a question too. I need an answer to it.
You used 4 minutes 36 seconds. Now can we have our next speaker from opposition? Next speaker from opposition, your time starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Fatima Muhammad, representing Kaduna State. Today, we gathered here. Our topic of discussion is to appraise the motion that says this House will introduce free and compulsory tertiary education in Nigeria. While the idea of free and compulsory tertiary education sounds noble, but it is fundamentally fiscally irresponsible, flawed, economically, socially, and practically, which is very, very difficult to be implemented in Nigeria. But before I as the second speaker, I'm going to speak on the following key point: quality versus quantity, and corruption and mismanagement. Mr. Speaker, but before I do so, I would like to respond on the last speaker's speech from the proposition, in which he claims that when this motion is implemented, we are going to have an investment in Nigeria. Therefore, it will lead to increase in economic growth in our country. Mr. Speaker, generally in Nigeria, the economic growth of Nigeria is not dependent on the graduates we have. With the current situation of Nigeria, we are experiencing unemployment as a result of high number of graduates we have in Nigeria and unavailable spaces to put them in order to engage themselves into government, working, or any private organization. All places are filled with people. Therefore, even if you graduate those people with the current we have now, let's solve this problem before we bring another problem, which will be very, very difficult to solve. And then he also claims that he mentioned Norway and Finland as the most educated people. They invest in education, and now they are regarded as the most educated country in the world. Mr. Speaker, this argument will not work here because we cannot compare ourselves with Finland and Norway. Nigeria is not those countries because of they are developed countries. But we, Nigeria, we are developing. Bringing something will lead Nigeria to collapse. Yeah. Therefore, this argument will not work here. The next thing is that he said that there will be a creation of new armies, or it will manage, or it will solve the problem of joblessness, whereby this argument also will not work in Nigeria. With the current situation, we have graduates satisfied but not qualified because of the quality of education matters. That is why in my point, I'm going to speak on quality versus quantity. We need to compare the quality of our education before with the current situation Mr. Speaker, in those days, someone afraid that secondary school can approach something meaningfully and contribute to Nigeria's development, in which in these days someone that have BSc certificate or HND or ND certificate cannot afford for that. Therefore, we need to look at it and we need to emphasize on quality, not quantity. As a result of the overcrowded classrooms we have now in secondary school, by making free and free education, not even compulsory, it means that we didn't even infringe this human right here. And the first speaker's speech from the proposition has made it. He said that there is right to education, but in Nigeria also 1999 constitution mentioned right to choices, whereby we need to prioritize right to choices. Most of the people that are now trying to make it compulsory or mandatory to attend tertiary institutions are not ready. They are not interested. Therefore, even if they are sent to these places, they will not work. They will not do anything. Rather, they will distract those that went for education. Therefore, that argument will not work here at all. The next thing, down to my argument, the second point, which is corruption and mismanagement. Mr. Speaker, we need to consider the issue of our country. There is already existence of corruption, whereby the lecturers are committing themselves into corrupt practices as a result of inefficiency of our government. Now, already lecturers are on strike because of the government is not eligible to provide them with enough money in order to solve their problems. Therefore, they have to commit themselves into corrupt practices. So, Mr. Speaker, there are so many ways in which lecturers can involve themselves into corrupt practices: embezzlement of scholarship rounds, procurement fraud, diverse upfront. Do we want us to continue like that? And then there will be increase in ghost workers, because definitely the government will like to increase the employment of lecturers as a result of high number of people. In summary, I hope I have been able to talk about, I'll be able to do rebuttals and talk about, and then that is why they couldn't be able to break our stance, which is we said that due to the fact that free and compulsory tertiary education in Nigeria is unrealistic, unsustainable, and will further deteriorate the current struggling quality education in Nigeria. Therefore, this law cannot be implemented. In conclusion, free and compulsory tertiary education. Thank you.
We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now? Okay, she used a total of 5 minutes, 34 seconds. Now, can we have our next speaker from proposition? Your time starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Jigawa?
Hello, Maimuna. Good day.
Yes?
Yes, we're having problem. Like it's this thing. You have to fix us again. The phone we are doing is like not there.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, let us fix another one so that we can view us.
All right.
Yes, we are sorry for the inconveniences.
Okay.
We are fixing another one.
So now we'll wait.
Bye.
Okay, this one. Sorry.
Okay, you're in 5, 4.
We're almost there, please.
Okay.
Hello.
Are you ready?
The Honorable Chairman of this great occasion, the moderator, panel of impartial. We are ready.
Okay, go on.
Okay. The Honorable Chairman of this great occasion, the moderator, panel of impartial judges, accurate timekeeper, my co-debaters, ladies and gentlemen, good day to you all. I'm Sumaya Zakarabade, representing Jigawa State. I stand here to strongly support the timely motion which said that tertiary education should be made free and compulsory in Nigeria. Patriotic Nigerians, let's support the voice of Nelson Mandela, who says that future of a nation is shaped by the future of a nation is shaped by the education of its people. Free and compulsory tertiary education in Nigeria is a necessary step towards a brighter future. I agree with the definition of tertiary education given by my first speaker. Free and compulsory tertiary education will be the sure right step in the right direction. Ladies and gentlemen, it is worthy of note that Ladies and gentlemen, it is worthy of note that one of the major objectives of promoting free and compulsory tertiary education in our country is to provide equal access to education for all Nigerians, irrespective of their socio-economic background or where they come from. Again, free and compulsory tertiary education in Nigeria help to reduce poverty and inequality by bringing good opportunities for individuals to acquire great skills and knowledge that will help them to improve in their income and make them self-reliant. Moreover, free and compulsory tertiary education can help to promote economic growth. This is because the tertiary education will help to produce more graduates that can more graduates, some graduates that can be able to help us in the economy of to boost our economy of the nation. Ladies and gentlemen, free and compulsory tertiary education can also help us to promote, can also help us to boost our, can also help to provide, ladies and gentlemen, free and compulsory tertiary education can boost our economic growth. This is because when the youth are given the opportunity, are given equal access to higher education, it will help us to boost our economic growth because of the proper use of we will know how to manage our resources properly. Ladies and gentlemen, my opponents may argue that free and compulsory tertiary education will bring no money to the government due to the inadequate resources. But I disagree with that. Thinking in that direction may be thinking in that direction is not correct. Nigeria is one of the best nations that has natural resources. If these resources can be managed properly, Nigeria will be among the best developed nation. I agree with Professor Chinua Achebe, when he said that free and compulsory tertiary, when he said that a nation that invests in its education invests in its future. Free and compulsory tertiary education is a right, but not a privilege. Ladies and gentlemen, my opponents may also argue that free and compulsory tertiary education may lead to a decline in educational quality. Moreover, may lead to a decline in educational quality. However, the proper monitoring by the government will help to solve this issue. We should not slaughter our future as we should not slaughter our future as the we should not slaughter our future. Ladies and gentlemen, the future generation will bitterly judge us for destroying their future. If free and compulsory tertiary education is properly managed in Nigeria, our national development, our national economy it will help to boost our national economy. The Mr. Chairman, sir, panel of impartial judges, accurate timekeeper, my co-debaters, distinguished girls, ladies and gentlemen, I strongly hope that you are fully convinced that free and compulsory tertiary education in Nigeria is a great idea whose time has come. Thanks for your rapt attention. Thank you.
Okay. She used a total of 4 minutes. Now, can we have our next speaker from opposition? Next speaker from opposition, your time starts in 5. You can sit 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Intentions now always equal result. Nigeria needs quality and not quantity. Making tertiary education free and compulsory would destroy both. Distinguished panels, esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen, our stance to remain as team opposition that due to the fact that making tertiary education free and compulsory in Nigeria is unrealistic, unsustainable, and with inequality, we further strongly oppose this motion, which states that this House will introduce education in Nigeria. Our burden of proof is to prove beyond reasonable doubt how and why making tertiary education free and compulsory in Nigeria would be burdensome and also wasteful. Our alternative policy to this debate today is not to make tertiary education free and compulsory, but to reduce tuition fee and also make it optional in order to align with the minimum wage of citizens. Distinguished panel, I, as the third speaker of the opposition team, will be tackling revolters, identifying areas of clash, and also carrying out cross-examinations. Before moving on to my areas of clash, there are revolters that need to be tackled. The first speaker, team proposition from Jigawa State, stated that making free and compulsory tertiary education will lead to national productivity. But my question now is, how? Even with tertiary education in Nigeria, without free and compulsory, we still have a large number of unemployable graduates. Nigeria does not have skill shortage. We have a problem of skill mismatch. We need to focus on developing our country and not funding underfunded institutions that will lead to unemployable and half-baked graduates. Secondly, they have also claimed that making tertiary education free and compulsory in Nigeria will reduce crime rates. Even without tertiary education not being free and compulsory, Nigeria still experiences high crime activities. How much more there making it free? Now to the areas of clash. Distinguished panels, the debate of today hinges on 3 areas of clash, which is 1, economic growth versus economic deterioration. 3, quality and impact, or quantity and low value. Now to my first areas of clash, economic growth or economic deterioration. The team proposition has proposed that making tertiary education free and compulsory will lead to national development and economic growth. But we team opposition are saying no. How? How is this? Countries like Germany, Finland, and Norway thrive by investing in technological, and vocational skills, not by sending everyone to tertiary institutions. Under these areas of clash, I would like to tackle a rebuttal. They have also claimed that more graduates means more skilled workers and will lead to national development. Nigeria already has a mass number of unproductive graduates left. How much more when we make tertiary education free without giving them qualitative education? We will be producing half-baked and frustrated graduates, not qualitative ones. Furthermore, a heavy focus on tertiary institutions would further devalue essential vocational and technical paths, which are critical for job creation and economic diversification, thus leading to economic deterioration. Now moving on to my second area of clash, which is quality and impact, or quantity with poor value. The team proposition has raised points that centered on producing quantitative number of skilled workers, but we team opposition are saying we want quality, not quantity. Investing in enacting this policy, which says that making tertiary education free and compulsory in Nigeria would lead to quantitative number of students in tertiary institutions with low quality. How much more then should we prioritize quantity over quality? If tertiary education that we make free and compulsory, quality will depreciate and quantity will increase. In the sense that infrastructures will be overused and teachers will be overstressed without the strength needed to give academic attention to the students. And this will lead to massive students with low quality, and without no impact on the economy, and this ultimately leads to low value. In conclusion, I, as the third speaker of team opposition, has been able to reaffirm our stance, which states that due to the fact that making tertiary education free and compulsory in Nigeria is unrealistic, unsustainable, and will further deteriorate the struggling quality of education in Nigeria, we strongly oppose the motion. I believe I've been able to identify areas of clash, tackle reporters, and also carry out cross-examination. With this distinguished panel's esteemed guest, I firmly rest my case.
She used a total of 5 minutes 44 seconds. Now it's time for our reply speech. In this stage, remember you have 2 minutes and you're not to add more points. You're just to summarize everything that everyone has said. Opposition is that rebuttal. Opposition, not opposition is that opposition is starting, not
We are ready.
opposition, not proposition.
Okay.
Yeah. Opposition goes first, then proposition. So Team Kaduna, please can we have your reply speaker? 2 minutes. Your time starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Education is a right, and rights should be sustained, not strained. Distinguished panel, ladies and gentlemen, during the course of this debate, there have been points of clash and also rebuttals, POIs left unanswered. Team proposition came with 4 major points today in this argument, and team opposition have been able to offer rebuttals to each and every one of them. Team opposition came with 4 points today in this debate, which are economic reality, misplaced priority, corruption and mismanagement, and quality versus quantity, whereby team proposition have not been able to give us rebuttals, identify their points of clashes. Also, the team proposition have not answered any offered POI or even made an attempt to ask a POI for us. They came with no stance, no body of proof, and no model. Also, they were speaking about how making tertiary education free and compulsory in Nigeria will boost the economy, but they did not tell us how. Also, team opposition have been able to identify points of clash, do rebuttals, reaffirm our stance over and over again. And we have 4 points still standing due to no rebuttals or POIs asked today. Our stance still remains due to the fact that free and compulsory tertiary education in Nigeria is unrealistic, unsustainable, and will further deteriorate the already struggling quality of education in Nigeria. We strongly oppose this motion. We've been able to show you how realistic our model is and prove beyond reasonable that our burden of proof. And with this, panel, ladies and gentlemen, team opposition rests our case. Thank you.
He used a total of 1 minute 57 seconds. Okay, now can we have reply speaker from proposition? Reply speaker from your time starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The chairman of the occasion. Ladies and gentlemen, the opposition has been asking about how will making tertiary education free and compulsory will help in economic development. When we make tertiary education free and compulsory, we will have many youth that are educated. They can even create jobs for themselves to depend on their own, create jobs for themselves, depend on their own, and employ others also to tackle the problem of unemployment in our nation. This will help the government to generate tax instead of depending on the government aid. And in the long run, the money invested in making tertiary education free and compulsory is brought back through innovation. Ladies and gentlemen, on the opposition side also argue that Nigeria will spend a lot of money in making tertiary education free and compulsory. But let us remember that if we spend a lot of money in making education free and compulsory, that money will turn back in multiples through national productivity. They also argue that how will making tertiary education free and compulsory reduce crime rate in our nation? When a person is educated, he is far less likely to be engaged in crime because education keep minds engaged and keep ambitions alive. Ladies and gentlemen, those countries who have adopted this system are having low crime rates because they have adopted this system. Ladies and gentlemen, also when we adopt this system, They are saying that when we adopt this system, it will not boost our economy. It will not do this. So, ladies and gentlemen, when we adopt this system, have you ever seen a success achieved without failure? Have you ever seen success achieved without suffering? So we must remove money. Nigeria is also removing money on something irrelevant. So we must remove money for things that will help us to boost our economy. Nigeria removing this a lot of money will also not make Nigeria to be poor, because Nigeria has a lot of resources. So when we use that wisely, we can make free and tertiary education free and compulsory, and this will help to boost our economy. Thank you.
You used a total of 2 minutes, 13 seconds. And that brings us to the end of our preliminary today. Thank you, all the speakers, for your thoughtful arguments and respectful engagement in today's debate. It's been a stimulating exchange of ideas. Each of you brought valuable perspectives to the table. Regardless of the outcome, your preparation and passion were clearly evident. So as we close this preliminary round, I'd like to thank our judges for their time and insights, and our audience for their attention. And now, how they will tell us who won. Best of luck to all the teams, and we look forward to seeing more great debates ahead. It's like my data has finished.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I believe I'm audible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, thank you so much. So first of all, my name is Silas and I'm the chair for this round. So before I proceed with the OA, I know we know what OA is, like oral adjudication. So before I progress with it, I'll first of all appreciate the speakers that came in for today's debate. I must say it was very, very engaging from the both rounds, from the both sides, from Kaduna and then Jigawa. So you guys had a nice outing, and I believe that subsequent rounds will continue to do better as you listen to the maybe corrections and then improvements, like things that you need to improve on so that you get better by next round. So first of all, the motion was this house would introduce free and compulsory tertiary education in Nigeria. So I don't know if, okay, my name is Silas and I'm the chair for this round. So first of all, we had like Jigawa from the pro side, and then we had Kaduna from the up side. So I'll first of all weigh the clashes we had in the debate before telling you who won the debate. So first thing we had, like the both house agreed that education is essential for every individual, every citizen in Nigeria. And I felt that that was like a nice outing from the both side. But the only problem we had in the debate was the fact that the both house disagreed with their alternatives. So different house like had alternative in a way to make education more effective, right? So from prop side, their own policy was to introduce like a free and compulsory tertiary education, and they felt that that's their own policy will make education more effective and status quo. But on the side of the upside, we felt that top alternative of like they had like an alternative which is first of all to make education optional, and then secondly is to subsidize like the fee of education, like the tuition fees and then the necessary things to align with the minimum wage. And I felt that that was more realistic in the debate. But let's first of all dive into what the main cause of the debate. I think another clash we had in the debate was the issue of long and sustainability, right? So which world are we able to solve this education? Is it in a world whereby we make education free and compulsory for individual, or in a world whereby we make it optional and then subsidize it for individuals? So prop tells us that they are making education free and then they are making it compulsory, but I feel like their model or their policy had like major model to like to prove how these things are going to in the system. So that was why like opposition side was able to capitalize on that and then show them how like economic realities, how we are like having a lot of issues, and then how these things are not going to be like realistic in this in status quo. And I felt that that was a nice count on upside. So secondly, they tell us that their own side on the sustainability on their own side is a long-term policy, right? In the sense that the money being invested in this education is going to be gotten back from like innovations and then innovations coming from individual and all that. So opposition came in and told them that the issue of economic growth and all of that will not really work when we make this education free and compulsory, because at the point in time whereby we have like increase in graduates and all of that, we kind of have like issues whereby currently we don't even have like enough job for the recent graduates we are having. Imagine when we like make it like free for individuals and then get like more number of graduates, and then it becomes more problematic in the system. So I felt that that counter from their own side automatically clashes with the issue of economic growth and then innovations coming from their own side. Then they tell us, the prop tells us the issue of like Section 18 of the Constitution, which guarantee like quality education. Prop tell them that Section 18 is not just about like it's not about compulsory education, but rather quality education, and hence we don't necessarily see the need. So I was waiting for proposition to tell us how justified is making education compulsory in their own word, and then how that justification will likely going to like make the economy of the system, like economy of Nigeria, better, or like make things better in the status quo. They also talked about the issue of crime rates, increase in crime rates and all that. So opposition tells them that increase in crime rates will continue to like skyrocket, because whenever we have like more graduates, we're having like more persons that like are being trained in like this crime and all of that. So at the end of the day, we're having like more increase in crime rates, and that will likely affect the status quo that prop is proposing for. So I felt that the three clashes we had in the debates was like issue of alternative one, and then the issue of in which world are we better able to make education more effective. So on issue of alternative, prop tells us that they are making their education free, and then they're making it compulsory for individual. But I didn't see like more mechanism of action from their own side to be able to like to prove or justify why their education should be compulsory for individual, taking note of principle of choice from their own side, like opposition pointed out. Then secondly, from alternative of up, they told us that their own should be optional and then it should be subsidized. And I felt that was more realistic in the debate. And then they were able to prove it with their model of like aligning it with the minimum wage. And that I felt that was more realistic in the debate. But then secondly, they talk in which world are we be able to make education more effective? Is in a world whereby we make it more free and then compulsory for individual? Prop tells us that they are going to be making it workable, right? Then opposition tells us that these things are not going to be workable because of the economic realities in Nigeria, and then hence their own policy is no more justified. Then on the third clash we had was the issue of sustainability. Prop tells us that their own is a long-term benefit, whereby we get like those economic benefits and then innovations from individual. But opposition tells them that if we likely accept their policy. We're going to be having like depreciation in the school system and the educational system. And then hence, we are not going to be getting those innovation and those productivity that proposition is advocating for in that debate. And then secondly is the fact that a lot of persons are graduating over the years. Imagine the world whereby we have like free and compulsory education, and then people will likely have like more number of graduates in the system. And hence, we're going to be having like many persons graduating without no jobs, and at the end of the day, the end note of proposition in today's debate might not be accomplished. So on the 3 clashes, opposition won that. Thank you. So I think on the personal feedback, I think that the speakers did like nice job. The only thing I need you guys to do for subsequent round is, first of all, you need to know how to analyze your arguments properly. So how do you analyze your arguments? Is first of all, you tell us your arguments, and then secondly, you tell us why that argument is important, and then why that argument is important, and then why that argument is justified. So why the argument is justified, and then why the argument is important in debate. So I feel like if you're able to analyze your arguments with these like 2 things, we're able to like properly do that, and you're probably going to win. So I wish you guys success in subsequent round. Thank you. If in case you need any further feedback, I'm always free. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much for that wonderful analyzing of results. So let's I'll give the cap to now for summarize the results. Have you summarized the results? Let's know the winner.
And the debating teams, we have heard the analysis of Silas, and same goes with us from this side. Well, in addition to that, when you are presenting your points, learn to back it up with facts and figures. You don't just come and say, so that took place so yeah. Without actually telling us whoever carried out that project and the year, under what title, what reference. You have to state all those things. You have to back it up with data, correct data and information. So apart from that, teams have put up a very good. Like normally, every two clashes the victim. And from every indication, it is unanimous. From our own end here, Team Kaduna has taken the glory for this session. Team Kaduna has won unanimously. That is our verdict here from the adjudicators.
Okay. Team Kaduna versus Team Jigawa. Team Kaduna